Hi ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're well. Today we are going to move on to the next lesson where we are dividing decimals by decimals. So let's start off with our do now. Our do now, we want to divide 135 and 3/10 by 15. So let's start off, we can't make any groups of 15 out of 1. I'm going to put a placeholder above. Can't make it out of 13, I'm going to put a placeholder above. However, 15 can go into 135. I'm going to guess nine times because 15 times 10 is 150. And if I take one group of 15 away, that is 135. So let's just double check that. 9 times 5 is 45, carry the 4. And 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Yep. So 9 times, and when we subtract, we have 0 difference here. I'm going to bring the decimal point up into the quotient and bring the 3 down. We cannot make a group of, that's a group of 15 out of 3. So I'm going to put a placeholder above, and we're going to add a 0 into the dividend to bring down and make that 3 a 30. 15 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 15 is 30. We have 0 remainder, so we can stop dividing, and our quotient is 9 2/100. So that was with a divisor that had no decimals. Let's move on to today's lesson, and you're going to notice here that our divisors have decimals to it. So based on our journal entry, we said we cannot divide when the divisor has a decimal in it. So we're going to get rid of it, and I'm going to move my decimal point over to the right one place by multiplying by 10. If I multiply the divisor by 10, we have to multiply the dividend by 10 as well. And I'm going to move the decimal point over one place there as well. So now in the divisor, that 5/10 becomes 5 wholes, and that 1 25 thousandths becomes 10 25 hundredths when we multiply both of them by 10. Now we can go ahead and divide. 5 can't go into 1, but it can go into 10 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10, and we have 0 difference. I'm going to bring the decimal point up into the quotient and bring the 2 down to continue dividing. 5 can't go into 2, so I'm going to put a placeholder above, and I'm going to bring the 5 down to make that 2 a 25. 5 goes into 25 5 times, that's 25, and we have 0 remainder, so we can stop dividing, and our quotient is 2 5/100. Let's move on to number 2. All right, again, I have here 8 hundredths, and we want to know how many times 8 hundredths can go into 32 4/10. So we want to get rid of the decimal in the divisor, so we're going to move it over 2 places. Or in other words, we're going to multiply it by 100. If we multiply the divisor by 100, that means we have to multiply the dividend by 100 as well, and scoop the decimal point over 2 places in the dividend as well. We had a space there, so I'm going to put a placeholder with the 0. And let's rewrite our division problem. It's now 8 for the divisor and 3,240 for the dividend. The decimal point is going to come after the 0, and we can go ahead and put it up into the quotient now if you like. It does not move once we get our quotient. We're not going to shift it back 2 places. It's going to stay where it is. Okay, so let's start dividing. 8 can't go into 3, but it can go into 32 4 times. That's 32. And when we subtract, we have a difference of 0. Let's bring the 4 down. 8 can't go into 4. I'm going to put a placeholder above. And then we'll bring the 0 down to make that 4 a 40. 8 goes into 45 times. That's 40 exactly. And we have 0 remainder, so we can stop dividing. So our quotient is 405. Number 3. All right, lots of decimals here. We want to move the decimal point in the divisor 3 spaces, or in other words, we're multiplying it by 1,000. We're going to do the same thing in the dividend, move it over 3 places, or multiply it by 1,000. It has to be multiplied by the same factor, or the decimal point has to be moved the same number of places. So the new problem, once we've moved the decimal points, 48 thousandths divided by 16. All right, so let's get started. Can't make a group of 16 here. I'm going to bring the decimal point up into the quotient. Can't make a group of 16 here or with the 4, but we can make 3 groups of 16 out of the 48. And when we subtract, we have 0 remainder, so we can stop dividing there, and our quotient is 3 thousandths. All right, so notice it's not necessary to get rid of the decimal point in the dividend. We know how to do that, right? We did that down here. It's not necessary to move it even more places and make the divisor even bigger. Okay, so we have a word problem here. The cost of 6/10 pounds of grapes is $2.70. How much will 1 pound of grapes cost? So this might be challenging just to figure out what operation is necessary. So I'm going to make the numbers a little different. Let's say the cost of 2 pounds of grapes costs $4. How much would 1 pound of grapes cost? Well, to figure that out, we would divide the cost, the number of dollars, divided by the number of pounds. So it would be 4 divided by 2 if we were talking about our whole numbers here. But it's not. We are talking about decimals here. It's going to be the same order though. Still $2.70, and we're going to divide it by 6/10. So how do we set that up with our long division? We're going to switch the places here, right? When we put it into a long division form, just like that, right? Because the $2.70 is being divided by the 6/10. Okay, so we can't divide with decimals in the divisor here. So I'm going to move it over one place, multiply by 10. We're going to move it over one place in the dividend as well, multiply that by 10. So our new problem is 6 going into 27. All right, well, 6 can go into 27 4 times. That's 24. When we subtract, we have a difference of 3. I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0. We're going to bring the decimal point up into the quotient, and we're going to bring the 0 down to make it 30. 6 goes into 30 5 times. It's exactly 30, so we can stop dividing. And it's asking for the cost of 1 pound. So I need to make this look like money. So it needs 2 decimal place values. We're going to add a 0 just to the right of the 5, and it's $4.50 for 1 pound of grapes. All right, if you have any questions, you can email me or tune into the Google Meet. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.